Joining me now is Dr. Mukesh Aghi, President and CEO of USISPF. Dr. Aghi, how do you read Donald Trump's remarks calling India, quote unquote, not a good trading partner? US President Donald Trump has gone on to say that he would increase the tariffs against India very substantially over the next 24 hours because of India's continued purchases of Russian oil. Given the strategic and economic ties, is this rhetoric or a serious policy threat in the making?
Well, you have to understand that in the current administration in the White House, rhetoric and policy, they seem to intermingle. And what we are seeing is a lot of policy announcements are being made through social media. So sometimes it's very hard to define is this rhetoric or policy statement. But what we are seeing is that for whatever reason, the president is irked with India. And then on a daily basis, we are seeing certain tweets coming out through social media, basically accusing India of being not a good trading partners or India not being a good friend. And I think that's not helping the environment between the two countries.
But Donald Trump here has linked India's purchase of Russian oils to punitive tariffs. How much of this is about geopolitics rather than trade imbalance, and what signal does this send to Delhi, particularly at a time when trade talks between Delhi and Washington is ongoing?
Well, you have to understand from an India perspective, and that is, it is going to buy oil from countries where you can, from wherever it's cheaper, because it has to maintain its domestic demand, it has to maintain its inflationary issue. But at the same time, I think the tweet coming out from the president says that India is making money. So I think basically the irk which is coming out is more about buying the oil, reprocessing it, and then selling in the open market and making a lot of money. I mean, say Europe is buying much more. Europe bought LNG worth almost $70+ billion last year. China is buying it, but they're buying it for internal consumption rather than buying it to make money itself. And I think that's where the big difference is.
So if we were to, look at a possibility here, if Donald Trump follows through and raises tariffs very substantially, quote unquote, in 24 hours, what sectors of Indian exports to the US, according to you, will be hit the hardest, and then how should India respond?
Well, you have to understand that, at the moment, the announced tariff is 25%, and pharma was exempted. But what I understand is in the new tariff announcement, which is supposed to come out, pharma may be included in that.
Yes.
And India has to do what it has to do to protect its interest, to protect its exporters. And so in the mid to long term, I think India has to look at alternative market, to look at basically how do you basically subsidize the exporter from a tax perspective, from an incentive perspective. And so if US is not the lucrative market for Indian goods, then they'll find other sources itself. So it is a challenging situation. It's a difficult situation. I believe that what we need to do is bring the temperature down between the two countries, especially in social media. And, Trump, we have seen him, when you go into public debate with him on any issue, he does not back down. He just keeps on raising the temperature. And I think it's prudent on part of India to see and explore how to bring the temperature down.
So let me ask you, how do you bring the temperature down here? India's response has been through Ministry of External Affairs in the form of a press release. There are no government official or Prime Minister here or any of the senior ministers who have taken to Twitter or any other social media platforms to respond to US President. There is a great degree of caution on part of India.
No, absolutely. I think India has been very measured. India has explained its position. In fact, the purchase of Russian oil, in fact, was encouraged by the Biden administration to stabilize global prices. And if you move away overnight, India buys 2 million barrels of oil every day. It is going to basically have an inflation impact on the oil prices all across the world itself. So I think what we have to do is it's not just India basically uh, being, as a government, being cautious. I think when you look at the social media from India, it has been creating more and more noise and focus on insulting the president. I think that's also creeping to the whole thinking within the White House. So I think the objective here is not to say, hey, India, bring the administration, bring the temperature down. I think we have to figure out how do you basically get rest of the social media to basically bring the temperature down and calm things between the two countries.
Okay, Dr. Aghi, let me try and sum up this conversation with you with my last question. You work closely with both the governments. What back channel conversations or interventions might be happening right now to manage or diffuse this tariff escalation before it turns into a larger diplomatic standoff?
I think a call between the prime minister and the president is important. President respects the prime minister. He calls him. He's a good friend of mine, and I think a call will help bring the temperature down. A call will help looking at the tariffs in a much more reasonable manner. You have to understand both Howard Lutnick and Jameson Greer, the USTR chief, had proposed to the president a deal with India, and I think that somehow and somewhere it just went disarray. So I think it's important that leadership basically talk to each other and study the ship rather than going in different direction here.
All right, Dr. Mukesh Aghi, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.